have some rich perspectives here tonight, and I'm very grateful that all of you took the time and traveled and made time in your busy schedules to be here. And thank you for the passion, too, in your work. I want to introduce our next speaker, which is Kevin Zeese, and I should also say, while Kevin is coming up here, that we will have an opportunity for some discussion as well once each of our panelists have made their presentation. Thank you.
Well, a lot of good comments. When I saw the peace advocacy and defense reform, it made me think about what a successful linguistic approach our government has taken to call it a defense budget. That's a term I think, that's an oxymoron, that's right. And I think if we are going to engage in so-called defense reform, one of the things we have to do is take back the language. And I would suggest, I'm going to talk about 3 areas around that. Because if we really had a defense budget, it wouldn't look anything like the budget that we currently have. We wouldn't be spending as much as the whole world combined on weapons and military and war. And so the first thing I want to say is that it's really an offense budget. It's really a weapons budget. It's a war budget. And the change from the war agency to the Department of Defense, I think, was a brilliant linguistic move on the parts of those who favor war. And so changing the term starts with not accepting that term defense. So-called defense budget, weapons budget, military budget, those are more accurate descriptions, and we should never allow the word to be defense budget. I think we need to start from that point and not allow that. The second thing I want to build on is what Elaine just was talking about, which is another term we need to get into the American political dialogue, which is empire. I was watching a CNN discussion. Who's that Newsweek writer who's on CNN? The Pakistani guy. I'm sure you all know. Fareed, that's right. And he was asking, is the United States an empire? I thought that I'd never heard that question on national television before. It's a pretty interesting question. He concluded we were not an empire. And I'd like to, it's when you think about empire, I think about exit plans, and I'm waiting for the exit plan from the Spanish-American War and the, let's get out of Cuba. How about the World Wars? I think the only country we really got out of was Vietnam. Korea, Iraq, we're in there. And so if we change the dialogue and start talking about empire, I think people start realizing what empire costs us. Why is it that in Japan they're building robots that will clean the house, or a pet dog for the elderly person, and we're building drones? Robotics are still expanding, but for us it's weapons robotics. And you can look at a whole series of issues. I mean, you're going to find in our country that the leading green technology agencies would be the Department of Defense. That's where all the money is. And so on issue, you're going to see on overall, we're buying subways made in Italy because we don't make them here. Why? Because we make weapons here. So empire has lots of costs. And once we start talking about the United States as an empire and bring home what that means to our daily lives, to our urban areas that are in decay, to every road we drive on has cracks and holes in it, and we have to constantly get our cars repaired because the roads are so bad. We are feeling that pain every day. Every day we can look around and see the cost of empire. And we're a waning empire on top of that. And so once you start to talk about empire and discuss what is it like to live in a waning empire, an empire that's overstretched, an empire that doesn't produce, an empire that's in debt at every level of government, at the business level, at the consumer level, you see a country that's weakening. And what happens to empires that wane? What happens to empires that wane? And so we need to look at what happened. Rome is now a tiny boot on the end of the Mediterranean. And what will we become? Well, Florida will be gone, so we won't be a boot, thanks to climate change. So, offense and not defense, empire, and the third point I want to talk about is corporate welfare. How much of this military budget really is one more form of corporate welfare? You know, we see in every debate in Congress, corporate welfare rears its head. But when it comes to the military, the corporate welfare is especially ugly because it's based on murder. It's based on destruction. It's an ugly form of corporate welfare. I mean, obviously the insurance industry is denying care, people dying, 45,000 Americans a year dying because of lack of health care. That's a pretty ugly form of corporate welfare as well. And this ugly bill that Obama's pushing that's going to put hundreds of billions of dollars into these insurance industry pockets is a form of corporate welfare as well. But the military-industrial complex is a serious form of corporate welfare. And you see President Obama putting in number 2 in the Defense Department, a former lobbyist for weapons manufacturers, and he's in charge of contracting for more weapons. The ugliness of it is just astounding. So if we're going to discuss